8 o'clock. Welcome everyone to our August 5th meeting of Whitley County Council. If you all would please join me in honoring our country. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tiffany, I'll let you start us today.
Sure.
With a little ray of sunshine of something great that's going on in your department.
Oh, goodness. Well, we're ahead of the ballgame for us on getting numbers to get assessed values for next year, but we're waiting on the state, so I guess that's good.
Good, thank you. Mark Sturtevant.
We have successfully completed the DNR portion of the museum renovations. That would be specifically the roof repair, all the fascia and soffit, and the storm windows have all been completed. We're just waiting on them to come up and do the final inspection, sign off on it. So, a lot more work to go, but we've got that much completed, so they're dry.
Very good. Todd, you have something from the Sheriff's Department for us?
I think everything's going well. Yesterday, JCAP started, so I think everybody on that side is excited about that.
Sean, you have something from the jail?
No, like Todd said, we started JCAP yesterday. We had 11 participants that were starting the program, so we're excited to get that going. And otherwise, everything's, with the exception of some building things that we're still going through, everything's going pretty well over there.
Good, thank you. Jennifer?
Yesterday at the Commissioners meeting, we celebrated several employees that have been here with us for over 20 years. I think that's pretty good.
Kim?
We are kind of quiet right now, still just doing data entry for reassessment. We're ahead of the state schedule on that. Our summer assessor conference will be next week in Fort Wayne, and Tom, being our deputy assessor, will be taking his level 2. I have high hopes that he will do just fine with that, so that's a good thing for us. That's about it for us.
Thank you. Scott?
I'll stand so Mr. Wheeler can see me. Several things. This week on the 7th at the Babe in the evening, we're having a back to school night with 10 different vendors, including the Bowen Center, who's graciously donating quite a bit of things for kiddos to go back to school. We're having 2 car seat safety checks at a couple of different festivals this fall. Lots of activity going on at the health department. We also now have certified CPR trainers. If you have an organization here in Whitley County, you let them come out and certify your people.
Thank you. And I thought I saw another Scott, didn't I?
Right
Yep.
behind you.
There you are.
It's hard to put a ray of sunshine in my office because all I have is bad news. So everything's going good. We're finally getting some reports in from May and getting caught up from the pathologist, and hopefully bring on some more people.
Thank you. Amy?
Not a whole lot new with us. We're just kind of cruising right along in Superior Court. We've had Judge Garza now for 11 months, which does not seem possible, but he's fit right in, and it's going to be a change when we ever get Judge back.
Rosemary?
Well, the Recorder's Office had its largest document month in 2.5 years. I think that's promising for Whitley County.
Good. Thank you. Ed?
Every year, the probation department, the probation officers specifically, have to have a certain amount of continuing education credit hours, and in the fall is the Popeye conference down in French Lick. I had all of my officers fill out an attempt to obtain a scholarship, and out of only 5 available in the state, we received 2. So 2 of my probation officers, excuse me, will be able to attend with no expense.
Nice. Okay.
Treasurer's Office is leaving today, actually, for State Board of Accounts required conference. We're going to the border. So clear in southern Indiana, so we'll be back late Thursday night, but I'm sure we'll learn a lot.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
Carly?
Same as Amy, circuit court's just running along. I will say we are almost 6 months into doing court at the new jail. I guess it's not new, but at the jail, and that's going very well. We appreciate the sheriff's department allowing us to come out there and cut on travel time for transporting inmates over, so that's working out really well.
Good. Jake, I see you hiding back there.
Yeah.
Got a ray of sunshine for us?
Fire department stayed busy, and I know through social media, Cherubusco Fire Department and Whitley EMS had a save recently, so I'll give you that.
Paula?
Well, a lot of you received our quarterly report yesterday, and just one of the highlights I thought I'd share with those that didn't receive it is last quarter, we collected almost $30,000 in child support from our participants that are in our program.
Nice. Jason? Tom went already, but I'll give you a chance.
JCAP started.
That's old news.
I'm telling.
All right, we'll move to the agenda then. First thing on the agenda is Dan Weigold, please.
Hey, first of all, I'm not here to ask for anything. But also, number one thing, I want to introduce our new Whitley County GIS coordinator, Beverly Perry. She came to us, actually, she's a kind of a celebrity. She was the Channel 55 weather meteorologist. And so, yeah, she comes to us with a vast amount of knowledge about mapping and things. So she's will have 9 days of training, and she's doing a marvelous job. She's picking everything up really well. So pretty excited for her to come in. And the other thing is, I just want to say thanks. I want to thank you guys for supporting GIS and all the previous councils and commissioners that have stepped up to bring GIS to the forefront, because I've had the privilege and honor of working basically with all of you and the department heads and the public. I've had some interesting souls, and it's just been a blessing for me. I just think the world of all these people. We're really lucky to have the employees that we have here, because they're amazing. They have Whitley County at their heart for future developments and things. Because I had the privilege of working with almost all of them, so I'm very, very lucky. I think, probably most of you don't remember Lou Gehrig, but I remember Lou Gehrig. He's a famous baseball player, and his last speech was, "I feel like I'm the luckiest man in the world." I do that too, because I've been truly blessed to raise my family here and be part of this organization, for 25 years, 13 plus at the city. So by the time I'm done with city council, I'll have 40 years working with people within Whitley County. So I'm truly blessed with that. And just thank you all for everything you've done for me, as well as supporting the GIS. Because right now on our Beacon website, we're pushing 1,000 people a day on our Beacon website. That's a big deal. That's a lot of calls not coming in to us, and we can stay on task. So thank you again. I'm very privileged, and I'm learning how to twiddle my thumbs, so I've got something to do on my time off. So thank you guys, and thank everybody here. I really much appreciate and care about every one of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dan. Leslie and Mista, please.
Good morning. So as we end our fiscal year, we just like to come before council to report out on our annual numbers. I know you received a handout that we put together. Just shows some kind of overall things that we are doing here in Whitley County, but you'll see a little bit more specific information on the chart here. Toward the center of the page in that chart, you'll see our information that's specific here to Whitley County. You can compare that along the left-hand side, kind of in pink or purple. You'll see the overall organization numbers for Bowen Health. So here in Whitley County, we received funding just shy of $260,000 from the county. that has helped us to employ 38 individuals here out of the local office. And receiving that funding allows us to serve nearly 2,100 patients, providing over 27,000 services and over 10,000 skills coaching services. That's a big impact on our community that we're seeing every day. You also have our Bowen Health financial report for the 2024 fiscal year. So that information is kind of down the center of the page as well. So take a look at that, and certainly let me know if you have any questions there. But I just wanted to update you on a few other programs that we have going on in the county. So for 3 years now, we've been working a 24/7 crisis response team, and that is where we are supporting local law enforcement on calls that are really not law enforcement in nature. Once officers arrive on scene, they'll contact dispatch, who will contact us directly to find out who's on call to respond in those situations. That's really helping relieve the burden for law enforcement officers who are then not expected to spend hours on scene resolving a matter that really, again, is not a law enforcement matter. It's been a great program. We're averaging about 2 calls per month, and those calls average about 2 hours in length. So again, that's relieving some burden from law enforcement. We'll continue our relationships with our community partners so that we can continue to sustain this program. It's a very valuable program for everyone. Another initiative that we've been working a lot on, and in fact it's something that I actually had kind of partnered with the Community Foundation in my previous role to host a group from another county that has a coalition that's really working well, but we're in the very beginning stages of forming a mental health coalition, a collaboration between the Community Foundation, Bowen, and all of the community stakeholders and partners. That's inviting partner agencies, it's inviting community members, volunteers, really anyone who has a vested interest in the mental wellness of Whitley County residents is being invited to participate. And we're dividing up into 4 separate subcommittees. One focused on youth, one focused on adults, one focused on seniors, and then one focused on communication and how do we get information out to the public, because it's crucial that individuals know what resources are available and how to access those resources. You can't access something that you don't know exists. And so as an organization, this group will really be looking to find out what some of the challenges facing the mental health of our community, what those challenges are, and then how do we work toward resolving some of those challenges. So we actually we kind of had a kickoff meeting a few months ago, and now this week all of the subcommittees are meeting for the first time. So September McConnell and I will be involved in every one of those meetings to get us started, and then we'll divide up into subcommittees like everyone else. So the group will meet on a regular basis as a whole, but will monthly meet to just keep that initiative moving forward. Excited to report, as we are looking at our staffing and filling that need for mental health therapists here in Whitley County, we're really excited now that of our 11 therapists that we have on staff, 9 of those are Whitley County residents. For us, that's something to really be proud of. That's a demographic that has really shifted over the years. From what Mista has shared with me in the past, it's been almost the opposite of that. Maybe less than 20% of our staff have been living here in Whitley County, and for us, we really like to see that. That's leaders, that's professionals in our county that are supporting those friends and neighbors that we have here that have some needs. And then finally, just wanted to report that Bowen is going through the process and has certified me and a number of other individuals within the organization to be able to provide mental health first aid courses. It's a curriculum, a one-day curriculum, either geared toward youth or geared toward adults, and just equipping any individual in the community who wants to learn how to address a mental health crisis when it presents itself. It's not intended to replace therapy, it's just intended, like most first aid, is intended to be a stopgap until they can get further assistance. So I'm out talking about that certification and looking for opportunities to teach that course so that we can better inform the members of the community. So that's all for my updates. Can I answer any questions or Mista?
I have. So October 1st will be a year at as Bowen Health instead of Bowen Center. And so what does that mean? It means that we're more integrated into our community. That was really the push, not only to offer more service lines, but to really show the community what we can do and how we can help serve. So exciting news coming up for our next fiscal year, which is July to June. We will be adding dentistry into our building here in town locally. So if you've been on a tour, you know we have an open shelf space right now that's just gravel. We'll eventually be putting dental in there. So we're excited for that.
Absolutely.
Good, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Paula Worden, please.
So there's 2 additional appropriations for your consideration. Neither one of them impact county general. The one in the donation fund, that was $3,000 donated specifically for Veterans Treatment Court. And the other one for the opioid settlement grant, grant was extended and they allowed us to keep the carryover. So the mental health services that she just mentioned, as far as that helps cover that cost.
That's easy. When it doesn't come out of county general, Paula.
I'm here to make your life easy.
We like it.
Yeah.
Entertain a motion for the 2 additional appropriation requests, either separately or together, please.
I'll make a motion that we approve them together.
I'll second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And it's passed unanimously with members that are present.
Thank you very much.
Cami, please.
Good morning. We come before you to ask for some of the unrestricted opioid funds to be appropriated into the Sheriff's Department budget. I provided you all with some literature about the classes and what we were asking to support. So we are asking for $5,000 and a line item to be put into the Sheriff's Department.
So when you request the 5,000, do you look at that as an annual budget?
So what we did was I just kind of estimated what we would need. It's a little larger because of startup costs. We needed some things that will just be in that area for all the classes, but then there's a certain portion of that budget that is reoccurring. So some of the uniforms, the classroom materials, and so I estimated enough for us to have this class, but then another class starting in January. So I would have those materials in December. So it's enough for 2 classes.
I had a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So this would benefit these participants, right?
Correct.
Is this possible to be paid out of the commissary fund?
We've already spent some commissaries, but we've offset some of her costs already on commissary. That's what she initially bought a lot of her stuff with anyway.
Can the commissary fund, Jason, I think this is something that commissary fund's dealt by the inmates, and this is a direct benefit to them. Is this something that the commissary fund could support?
Last month, I just spent about $20,000 on the commissary doing stuff to improve the jail too. So that's kind of what I've been using that for. That's why we stockpiled it to begin with, so. I don't know what the recurring costs are gonna be, but that's what that grant's for, so that's why we're planning that towards that.
What's in that?
Thor, I didn't mean to interrupt, but also those opioid funds were earmarked for the JCAP program for these items, so that's why we're asking for them out of that fund.
They can't be allotted over and spent until you guys are approved by council, so.
What's in that fund right now? Do we know?
And
The
that-
opiate fund?
Unrestricted is $349,000. Unrestricted is $349,000. $349 and unrestricted, 100 and something unrestricted.
While they're looking, I'll just say that it's always been the will of the county commissioners to use these opioid settlement funds for our JCAP program. We're really proud to have a JCAP program. We really believe in this. And there's a committee that's made up of community corrections, health department, the courts, who have looked at these funds since they've been rolling in and brainstorming ideas how to utilize the funds. And this is obviously one of the things that the committee supports, the commissioners support. And so I just wanted to add that in real quick.
And there's a balance of $124,753.89.
So you're asking for that 5,000 now and then line item in your budget for next year to be added for that same 5,000?
It will need to be added this year, correct, Tiffany?
Yes, and then you want it for moving forward too?
That 5,000 per year?
I don't know what that will look like per year, but like I said, these monies were enough for 2 classes.
Which one of them will be this year and then the other one next year?
Yeah.
Plus probably more classes next year?
I'm hoping.
Yeah. Thank you. Does anybody else have questions?
Make a motion, we do the additional appropriation from the opioid unrestricted funds for $5,000.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Is there further discussion, please? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Let it be shown it was passed unanimously with members present.
Thank you.
Next thing on the agenda is the rainy day fund transfer discussion. After last month's discussion, I went ahead and had Tiffany look at what the maximum amount is that we could transfer into the rainy day fund. And you can see that number there in front of you, the $3,114,400 would be the maximum that we could transfer this year. So I went ahead and had Tiffany come up with a transfer resolution for discussion today. I think it's appropriate that we take advantage of the rainy day fund, knowing that we can only put so much in there every year, but we can transfer it out of there anytime we want and in any amount to any other expenditure, whether it's just back into county general or wherever else. So what are your feelings on making this transfer today, please?
I think I'd be in favor of it, to better understand, I guess, what's the reasoning?
Well, you want to address that?
Yeah, I can. If you were here when Paige gave the presentation for Baker Tilly, whenever we get looked at for additional funding requests or anything like that, if they look and they see a really large amount sitting in county general, they're like, why are you asking for funding? You don't need it. Rainy day is kind of a way to just kind of set it off to the side. And I did speak with other counties and see kind of what their averages are. Just so you know, Whitley County has under $60,000. We have some counties that have, now mind you, they're larger, $35 million in rainy day. So it's just anywhere from $200,000 in Spencer County. Let's see, Steuben has $4 million. I mean, it's just kind of a way to set it back in case we need, you know, a roof repair or anything, it's right there, you can go ahead and grab it and just kind of sets it off to the side for rainy day.
Got it. Okay. I think I'd be in favor of it, for just in case, you know.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Do too.
Is there a motion, please?
Is Nixon no form of a motion?
John's asking if yours was a motion.
Yeah, I will motion that we move, sorry. It's early, man. I'll motion that we move the $3,114,400 from county general into the rainy day fund.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand and let us know it's passed unanimously with members that are present. Next item on the agenda, Tiffany, I'm going to let you give a brief background on it, a review of the estimated tax levy limits and the circuit breakers, due to the circuit breakers.
So I guess the first part we'll discuss is the levy limits. Every year council sets how much they would like to go into health reassessment. Q Bridge is set by a rate. County Gen just kind of gets leftovers from that. There is also $20,000 approximately that goes to Council on Aging and 4-H. The last several years we've done about $500,000 for Health Department, and then the last 2, I think, years we've done $100,000, 3 years for reassessment. So you guys just need to decide how much you would like to put for those. We need to remember too, Health First Indiana funds are way down from 25 budget year. So I don't know if Scott, if you feel 500,000 would be appropriate.
Typically, the average year historically brings anywhere from $700,000 to $800,000 into the levy for the health department, and we're usually well under that. To handle that, just remember, as going forward, tax receipts are down. That's going to affect. We've gone into the red one in 2008 and 2009 during the recession. Came out of that. Hate to do that again. But yeah, I would say Baker Tilly is saying leave it alone. That's it'd probably be close to affording that, but we're down $700,000 from last year.
So you think leaving it at the 500,000 would?
Depends on what we got in there now. I mean, if there's some in there now that would be okay for next year's budget, it's gonna be close.
And there's a cash balance in there as of today of $873,000.
That will handle 26, but 27 you may have to do additional levy.
And then reassessment again, I know Kim has had several conversations with you guys about where she's at, how many years she's got left. Baker Tilly did say their recommendation was to take from 100 to 0. So that's up to you guys. I also want to make sure you know, just be aware you're going to have to move that all back. So do you want to take a 200,000-ish impact, or do you want to take a 300? You know, it just depends how much of an impact you want to have with that. And then the circuit breaker piece of that is definitely going to be a really big hit for the county. We just got those numbers last week. A way to think about your circuit breaker and kind of how that impacts everything is, you know, we have those over 65 age deductions that are allowed on properties, and there were larger limitations on those up until retroactive to January of 25. 65,000 was the impact for the whole entire budget, which would include all of the pieces of the levy. This year it's up to like 560,000. And the reason for that is they reduced assessed values that just completely got rid of it, so you could have $1 million home and still qualify for the over 65. circuit breaker on that. And they also upped, I think they doubled essentially how much you can make to be able to qualify for those, because it used to be capped by your home value and how much you made, so they really increased those floors. I give for an example this morning, somebody called me from South Whitley. The current home has the over 65 on it right now. Somebody else who will not qualify for that wanted to know estimated what their taxes would be. The person with the over 65, because of the tax cap in that credit, right now pays $200 a year for taxes, and it would jump to almost $1,600 for somebody who doesn't qualify. So, pretty big impact.
And these are really the last two pieces of the puzzle for us to determine where we're going to be at on our budget. If we would leave these, or even if we would cut both of these, we're not going to be working, we're not going to come out right now with a balanced budget. So it's going to take either some cuts that we'll need to go back and look at to see if that's possible, or if that's what we have an appetite for, or we're going to have to make a decision on whether we're going to work outside of a balanced budget this year. But these are the last two things that we need to talk about in order for Tiffany to be able to put those numbers together. Kim, is there anything that you would like to add to the discussion as far as reassessment funds?
I mean, you and I talked, and I mean that we all know that reassessment fund has a very hefty balance in it. It's been addressed by the DLGF, it's been addressed by Baker Tilly. And I mean, I know that it's going to be fine for the next couple of years, even if you were to reduce it, the levy to zero, and not fund it for a couple of years. I know going forward though, like I expressed to Thor, my only feeling will be going forward, because we know 2026 is not going to have the impact that what we're going to be looking at according to the phase schedule that the state has handed down to us, and how things are going to look probably 2027 going into 2030, 2031. Those are the years, I think, when we're going to start seeing a real big impact. So, I mean, we're only dealing with 1 year right now, and I can say if we're just going to take it 1 year at a time, I think that it will be able to sustain taking the levy to zero, let that flow back into county gen like what it has been proposed by Baker Tilly and the DLG.
That makes sense to me. I think we should follow the advice of Kim and DLGF and take it to zero. Does that need a motion?
Yeah, we'll address that with a motion, and probably the health amount to it at 500,000.
So I would motion that we take the reassessment levy to zero for next year, and then leave the health department as it is, 500.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Is there further discussion, please? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. And it was passed unanimously. So can you talk, Tiffany, a little bit on when you think you can get numbers to us, then to look at the budget as we have it, and then, and how, what your time frame is on that, so we can, when do we need to have a special meeting, or can that be put on next month's agenda and still have time?
I need to advertise, so if you give me a number to advertise to, I can give you these numbers this afternoon. The piece that we're kind of also waiting on is, you know, if you guys are entertaining a possibility of a, increase or not for salaries. Every year, you guys just kind of give me a 7%, 10%, whatever it is you're feeling. We put it in there as kind of a cushion. Again, you can always go down from that number once I advertise. However, you cannot go up. So, that's kind of another piece we're waiting on. I do know with commissioners yesterday, we spoke with Andy regarding a IC code. We're having department heads get me what they would like to see for increases. All that information is going to go to commissioners. They're going to look at it at their next meeting, which would be the 18th, and if they choose to give you a recommendation, they'll do that. 'Cause that was something that Jen had found, kind of looking through things, that there's not supposed to, but can give a recommendation on positions and increases. So we're trying to follow statute with how we do things. I don't know if you want to add any more to that or not, Jen.
I don't really have anything to add to that.
So, like I said, pretty much the last piece is, what do you want me to advertise at for increases, if anything? I just need some guidance on that. And we can get that all going this afternoon. Could try to have those numbers as well to you, I would say by at least tomorrow.
I think we could advertise at 4, wouldn't you think? I mean, in keeping with the last few years, we're at 3, 4, and 3 over the last 3. Knowing that we can reduce if necessary. Would hate to do that, but it is what it is this year, unfortunately.
I myself can't see anything higher than 4% as far as for wages, and I have not what people want to hear, but I have a feeling that I don't know if we can do that. But as far as the advertising part of it, until we can get into looking at and making the decision on whether we want to work inside of a balanced budget or not, I would be comfortable with advertising at 4%.
Me too.
I'm not in favor of it. I'd go 3, but I wouldn't go 4.
Once it's advertised, we can always reduce, right?
Yeah, we can always go. We'll reduce it all the way down to 0.
Yes. Yeah, we can't go up from the advertisement.
So it's not on principle, I understand what you're saying, Ken, but I don't know, but it's a
It's okay.
big enough issue to get caught
Just
in the weeds
leave it
with.
out there.
Yep. Is there a motion, please?
I would motion that we advertise an increase of 4%.
Second.
Motion and a second, and any further discussion? All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And all those opposed, the same. And it passes 4-1 with Kim voting no.
And I will get you those numbers as soon as we get them entered.
$2026 maximum levy amounts.
You guys already voted on that.
We did, didn't we? 2025 longevity pay date letter.
And this is something that we have to do every year to notify PERF of an additional, essentially pay, I guess, as you will, letting them know the date that we plan to pay out longevity. For this year, Tuesday, December 23rd, 2025 is when we would like to get that paid out.
Is that a normal pay day?
No, we don't usually do it on the same pay day.
Is there a motion, please?
I make a motion that we approve Tiffany's request for the longevity pay date for December the 23rd, 2025.
A second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Accounts payable schedule and payroll schedule approvals.
Again, these are just schedules that need to be brought before you guys for approval. For 26, the accounts payable schedule always mirrors commissioner meetings, and payroll schedule is just keeping it as is.
Motion, we accept the payroll schedule for 2026.
Second.
Motion and second, further discussion. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Passed unanimously, thank you so much.
Was that for both or just payroll?
That was for both. Mark Sturtevant, additional employee request, please.
Good morning. Here today ask for consideration for an additional position, a maintenance technician. We've discussed this in the past about adding additional maintenance technician, especially when the new jail got built. We talked about adding another person to help with the workload. So I've met with the personnel committee and they approved it. And now I'm here to ask for your consideration to fill that position, an additional position.
What's your projected overtime cost for this year, Mark?
I believe we're at 50 right now, and I'll be back next month to ask for more.
Then how much, with you had an additional person, could have been saved on that?
I'm not sure. I mean, certainly we could have cut down on it, but I mean, there's always going to be some overtime. There's always going to be on call. You know, emergencies at the jail, you know, in the middle of the night, weekends. That I realize right now is exceptional time for the after-hours calls due to the HVACs units at the jail. It's literally every weekend. Every weekend we're being called out there to address those issues. I certainly hope that that's coming to a close. We can get some of those issues resolved. But there's always going to be some sort of overtime on call.
What did you put in your budget for next year for overtime, Mark?
I believe it was 20 or 30,000. I
It
can't
was
remember.
30.
30?
I think it was 30. I'll double check for you.
If this position were to be approved, could you cut that back to 7,000 or 8,000?
Sure.
5? 3?
7?
I know you guys need it. You're working your tails off. I guess I will motion that we approve the additional position for maintenance employee.
And when do you want that to start?
When
Is
were you
that-
expecting?
I'd like to start advertising right away. Yes, now's as good a time as any to inform you that we're losing a 13-year veteran mid-September, so
She'll be hiring for 2 positions then.
yes.
Okay. Yeah, I would say immediately.
Then you'll come back to us with an additional appropriation request once you know the start date for, get it through the end of the year.
Yes.
And to answer the question, it was $30,000 for 26 for overtime. It's requested.
I have a motion
I'm gonna second.
and a second. Is there further discussion, please?
Is it gonna be through the next pay period for the county? Or does it start immediately?
They haven't even done the interview process yet. They haven't done a hiring process yet. So it's probably gonna be at least a few weeks.
I'd like it to, I don't know when the pay, is it September, or August 31st, pay period starts?
Yes, I believe so.
If possible, I'd like to start that. That'll give the individual 2 weeks to work with the individuals leaving. So, bring them up to speed on the jail.
Yeah, I just think run your process, get your people, and then come back and ask for an additional appropriation based on when you get them started. Any other discussion, please? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Passed unanimously. Also, I would ask you, Tiffany, to cut his overtime budget for 2026 from 30 to 6,500.
Thank you.
Yep. Scott Smith, please.
Morning.
Morning. Morning.
I'm basically here to fill a position. We used to have 2 salary and then 3 by call deputies. And right now I have the position 5 total in my office. I'm not gonna cost you any extra money because the one I'm asking for is paid by call, not by salary. So I'm asking to fill that position for deputy coroner.
When there's a pay scale set for that, Scott, what would you be bringing somebody in under that pay scale?
Well, it's $150 per call and per autopsy.
You gonna utilize what you have in your budget at this time on it before you come back and ask for additional appropriation?
Yes, sir. I don't foresee going over this year, but next year it might be an issue.
So it's just a flat rate per call and per autopsy?
And it's 160.
It's 160. I knew they
Yep.
raised it, but I didn't know by how much. So,
And this really, I mean, it's just gonna be one person coming out for the call. You're just gonna have more people to choose from. Or
yeah,
more people to cover the
with
calls.
most of the people are usually retired people that have the time to do this job, and with vacations and everything else, we're having trouble getting coverage. Like it was supposed to be covered last week, and one of them had an emergency come up, so I had to cover for them again. And that's basically all it is. Like I said, it's not costing taxpayers or county more than I budgeted for, hopefully. And the other thing I'll add is I do have a seat reserved for the next training class for the medical legal death investigators course. It takes a year to get that seat reserved. From the day they're hired, they have 1 year to complete that course. But with that class always being full, only being put on twice a year, actually I reserved 2 seats this year, but I'm not gonna fill, so. My 2 normals aren't here to help me.
So do we need a motion to approve
Yes.
what he's requesting? I so move.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Passed unanimously. Nick, do you have anything from the Personnel Committee to report?
Was not here at the last personnel committee, so I will defer to my vice.
Well, I think we've talked about both issues that were on the Personnel Committee agenda last month. We've already made approvals on them, so I think that pretty much covers that. We did have one other issue we talked about as far as the Sheriff's Department requested to go to 12-hour shifts for their deputies, which we put back on the agenda again for this week. We'll have some more discussion on, but that's it. Commissioner report, please.
Last month I shared with you guys some conversations that were happening about the VHF equipment that's currently attached to a tower at the old jail. And we're wanting to move that equipment to a tower that the county owns currently at the Highway Department. And I've been working with them early at JCAP Communications to get a quote. This is what he was able to come up with to get that equipment moved. And so we learned this month that the Regional Sewer District did not get funded for their project in 2026, or 25 rather. So what that means is that $1 million of ARPA funds that we had committed to a Regional Sewer District project will not be utilized by Regional Sewer District and comes back to the county per the agreement. So my proposal is that we amend our ARPA resolution and include the cost of moving the VHF equipment from the old jail tower to the Highway Department tower. The reason why this matters is because no radio communication system is perfect. Every system will have intermittent outages where we'll need a VHF backup at some point. So we were site trunking a couple times in the past couple weeks where everyone, including Columbia City, uses VHF when you site trunk. So I'm just wanting to make a small investment of the $52,000. What are the passes?
268.05.
268.85.
05.
05. So, not here to do that today, but I'm letting you know that's how I'd like to move forward. Those ARPA funds, I think there's going to be a request from the sewer district for a much smaller amount, as they had banked on having a phase 2, and because that's not moving forward, they don't have any operating funds. So there's going to be a little bit of a request to support them. I don't know how that will go, but I see it coming. And then in addition, in the last month, yesterday we approved a buggy ordinance. We have a small Amish population in Whately County, and currently their buggy registration is $60. That's much lower than surrounding counties, and the cost of repairing the damage to the roads is much higher than what we collect in buggy fees. So we had Ryan speak to the Amish community in South Whately and explain to them there was going to be an increase and why. And so yesterday we approved that ordinance and went from $60 to $100, and then there will be a $10 increase every other year up until I think 2030.
36, I think.
36. So that's something that we had worked on. We did some health board reappointments. We updated a fee schedule for the health department. The health department is now offering CPR training. That was something that came along with the Health First Indiana incentives, and so we added some fees for CPR courses so that the certificates and that sort of thing the cost for that gets passed on to the users. We did approve also a seed grant application agreement with Arbin Marsh, who is working with GIS and planning and building for, and you'll have to help me, somebody will have to help me with the language, next level. I don't know. I'll get back to you on that one.
I think
It
it's
has
just to
something
bring them up
to
to
do
be
with.
compliant with 911.
Yeah, and every state has to be compliant. I think it's next level dispatch or something like that. I'll have to get back to you on that. But Arbin Marsh is gonna help us apply for the grants, and there's no local match or any of that, so we just enter into the agreement.
Do you think that the regional sewer district will request the rest of those? No?
No.
Do we have a plan for the balance of that fund?
Yeah, we're working on solidifying the plan. I just wanted to introduce this because I want to move forward with the tower project sooner rather than later, but there's some things that are also on our radar, like when we moved from old jail to new jail, we took an old server with us, and when we moved that, we learned that server really wasn't working properly in the old jail because it wasn't backing anything up, and now it's backing everything up and it's full. So we tried to save some money, but we thought we'd had a lot more life in that server, and so that comes at a cost. This building is due for switches, the Cat 5 cable switches. So that's another thing we thought, if we could do some of these projects that are coming due and use these ARPA funds, then we save on general funds and, and seeded funds. So we're coming together and putting together a plan that we're going to propose. And then you're more than welcome to join the conversation.
I would love that.
All right, let's do it.
Is there any updates on the HVAC system at the jail?
Yeah, so there's a weekly meeting happening on Mondays with all the players. Tomorrow, actually, everyone will be on site from 8:30 to 4, and the goal of that meeting is for people to actually leave with a plan of action on corrective measures. So, I mean, the conversation continues, but I don't know when we can expect for the systems to be resolved.
Is there any recourse we have for the cost of the county on overtime?
Yeah, so we're
maintenance?
having some internal conversations about bringing in the county attorney to review agreements and to start trying to recover some of our costs of overtime with, like Mark had said, it's unusual for a weekend to go by and they're not there both days restarting a unit. They may not be there for a extra long time, but
they're still there.
They're still there.
Yeah.
Which we knew, they did tell us that it would take quite some time to get the HVAC units right, with the changes, the seasons and that sort of thing. But we haven't even started our learning curve because they haven't been working properly. And so we're trying to keep them running, and we haven't even started learning on changes to seasons and that sort of thing. So
how long have we been occupying the jail? Do you remember?
Our first move was January 1. for
January?
summer divisions.
So it's been
it's been a train
8
wreck ever
months
since on the HVAC units and RTUs.
That's crazy.
So, I told them straight up in a couple emails already earlier with everybody involved. That's why these meetings are going on Mondays again, is because it hasn't been settled. I get tired of watching Kyle get his butt kicked about every weekend and every day, having to leave his house, his events and things like that, just to come in and reset brand new units, which is, in the end, it's affected everybody that needs something else done in the county.
Yep.
Because everything has to be done there. So I requested that, one of Kyle's requests, he was going to the meeting happened, but one of the requests was everybody needs to see what's going on here. I kind of got on Aon rep the other day because he's never been around. Now I heard it's kind of Pranger's problem. So, it all lies on Pranger. selling us a unit that they can't even service and work on. So that's where my frustration is really.
Yeah.
Is that they should have been able to even, why they've been on a job that they can't even service the product they sell.
Yeah, totally
We have to
agree.
contract from TJW for a rep to come out. So when Kyle makes that call or has that problem, he's gotta come in, he can't remote in and do anything. He's gotta come in, go hands-on, physically go to the roof, he's gotta unplug circuit boards to reset units. He's gotta give that time to reset and then plug everything back in, and then roughly a half-hour restart to make sure it works properly. And sometimes that takes 2 or 3 times.
Jeez.
So, hopefully tomorrow, everybody gets their eyes open on what's going on and what everything's been going through out there. The rest of the building has really been really good. There's improvements that we've made. There's things that we didn't think we needed that we did add. So we've been trying to do that. But the main concern right now with Mark and his crew, and the knowledge that Kyle's gained from that he needs to pass on to somebody else. And the next 6 weeks is the RT units on the roof. And I'm happy with the commissioners being involved in this and possibly the county attorney, because I think they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I would agree. It's disheartening to hear that the issues that we're having is happening. You know, that's frustrating. I feel for you.
Don't feel for me, I feel for Kyle, because he's the one that has to come in all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, I'll remind you that we have not signed the substantial completion for HVAC. It's been excluded, so warranties won't begin until we sign that substantial completion. We won't sign that till they get it right. Any other questions for me?
Thank you, Chad. Previous meeting minutes approval. Is there any additions or corrections to the minutes as they were presented to you, please?
Make a motion we approve the minutes from the July 8th, 2025 meeting.
Second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. And those, and Nick
Abstain.
abstains. Minutes passed. Anything for the good of the cause, please. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here today, participating. John?
Kay can elaborate a little bit more on it, but we had a change of ownership on a property on Anderson Road, which was an eyesore on it, and the new owners are going to be working to clear it up. Right, Kay?
Yeah, we actually had 2 in Cherubusco that sold on certificate sale that had been on tax roll for probably more than 10 years. And both have been deeded over to new owners, and they're going to clean, actually the one property is already for sale. So we'll be putting that on. We sold 6 on certificate sale and 5 have been deeded over. So, and I can say the 6 people paid the spring taxes on those properties. So good progress.
That's all for me.
Tim?
I don't have anything.
Kim?
I have nothing.
Nick?
I have nothing.
And I have nothing either. We stand adjourned. Personnel Committee will start in 5 minutes, please.